It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Newman Jets head golf coach, Coach Taryn Torgerson. How are you doing today?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college golf?
Yeah, so I grew up around the game. My dad has been a high school golf coach my entire life. So when most kids were going to, daycare and stuff after school, growing up, my brother and I were at golf practice with my dad just since we could walk, literally. So I've been around him, and then my college experience playing just solidified the fact that I wanted to get into coaching and hopefully give young aspiring student athletes the same opportunities that I was given.
What was that like playing for Wichita State?
It was amazing. Just the opportunity to represent my home state week in and week out, and to represent to wear Wichita State on my chest for 4 years was truly a dream come true, and an honor still today that I can say that I'm an alum from there, and I enjoyed every single minute of my 4 years there, and was fortunate enough to have some success as well. And I truly learned a lot, met a lot of people, and I wouldn't be where I am today without that experience.
How is that like, obviously, getting to play for your home state area?
Yeah, it was, like I said, a dream come true. I've always had a dream of playing college golf. So to get the opportunity of, there was a lot of schools out there, of course, but to get the opportunity to stay in Kansas and represent Kansas, and to get to compete at that level was truly just an unbelievable experience that I can't even put into words. So, and to be close to my family while I was here competing, of course, I spent lots of hours with my dad on the golf course, with him being my high school coach. So he was able to be heavily involved in that experience as well. And I probably wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if I was, farther away from him.
What was that like getting to represent the Wichita State and getting to put on that polo for them?
Yeah, it was awesome. I came into a really good program, and I was the only freshman my freshman year, and they had just won their first ever team conference championship the year before I got there, and they were returning everybody. So I knew it was going to be a tall task to really make an impact on the program when I first got there. And but I was up to the challenge, and it was really, really cool to put Wichita State on my chest. There were good days and bad days, and adversity that I had to overcome. But at the end of the day, I was living my dream, no matter if it was one of those good days or bad days. So just keeping that in perspective, and things were going to work out the way they were going to work out.
As a player, what were some of your biggest accomplishments?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I came to Wichita State as a walk-on, basically, and I just begged for a coach to take a chance on me out of high school, and Coach McCurdy at Wichita State did that, and I was able to come here and work really hard and take advantage of the opportunity that I was given. And by the end of my career, I was fortunate enough to win 6 college tournaments, 2 individual conference championships, as well as be a part of 2 team conference championships. So, all of those memories were super fun. And if I had to pick one, I won my very last college tournament, which was the American Conference Championship, shooting my personal best 64 in the final round. And there's nothing still to this day that could top that. So it was a storybook ending to 4 years of just a lot of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears put in on and off the golf course. So I couldn't have asked for a better experience and opportunity.
How was that transition like, from going from being a student athlete to being a student athlete coach for Wichita State?
Yeah, it was a difficult adjustment at first, just because, you go from being a student athlete and then, you transition into that kind of coaching, mentoring role, and you're kind of coaching people that you played with. So going from a teammate to kind of a coach and authority figure was difficult, and when our two coaches were gone recruiting or something, they put me in charge of practice, and it was a great opportunity, and I learned a lot, and I just really had to set a boundary and bridge the gap between, being their friend and teammate to being their coach and somebody that's there to invest in them and make them better. And once I kind of got over that hump, they respected me enough to, with what I was able to do in my career to where we could kind of come together for a common goal. And that's to, continue the legacy of Wichita State women's golf and to continue to grow and develop each individual's game.
During that time, what were some of the things that you learned to help you become a head coach?
Yeah, I mean, the relationship that I had with my head coach at Wichita State was really, really special, and not one that I think a lot of people are able to say that they have. He trusted me a lot, especially in the latter part of my career, kind of let me in on some behind the scenes stuff so I could kind of get a good look at kind of what it's like to be in that coaching role. I actually did some internship hours with him my senior year while I was playing. So I got to kind of be involved in what goes on behind the scenes in order for us to get the opportunity to compete week in and week out. So that definitely helped me, and I'm forever, eternally grateful for him in allowing me to be as involved as I was, even as a player before I became a part of his staff. And then, just watching him and our assistant coach do what they do every day, you can learn a lot from what they're doing and just kind of learning by example. And they set a great example for me. And then, of course, I have my dad to look up to, as well as to prepare me. And, sometimes you have to fail yourself before you really know how to make it better. So I just kind of had to live and learn as well. But I felt like I had a good foundation going into it.
What was that like, taking that big jump from going from being a student assistant at your alma mater of Wichita to going to Newman Jets to become the head coach?
Yeah, it was a huge jump, and I became a head coach when I was 22 years old, and that was incredibly scary. And looking back on it now, I'm still like, how did I do that? I was still finishing my master's degree when I became the head coach, so I was, juggling school my first semester of coaching. So it was weird when the girls were done with their round, they would go do homework, and so would I as their coach. So that was a weird experience. I was fortunate enough to have a lot of great mentors as I was transitioning into that. My coach at Wichita State was huge and always picked up the phone when I needed him. And then, our athletic director and administration at Newman really took me in with open arms, and she took a chance on me. Our athletic director did. And I'm forever grateful for that and wouldn't be where I am today without that. But it was definitely scary and definitely something that I had to learn how to navigate and kind of forced me to grow up really, really quickly.
Of course, what was that feeling like when you got announced to become the Newman Jets women's golf coach and men's golf coach?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I've had a dream of being a college golf coach for a really long time, and if you would have told me that I was going to be a head coach at 22, I would have said you were crazy. So that was a dream come true to get that opportunity. It was a great experience going through that interview process and application process, down to the point of getting the job and meeting my new players who I was only, 2 years older than. So that was just all a learning curve as I had to kind of get older and grow up a little bit. But I just appreciate the belief that my coach at Wichita State had in me and helping me prepare for that adventure. And, for Joanna at Newman for giving me the opportunity. But once again, I got to represent my home state playing college golf, and now I get to represent my home state coaching college golf. There's truly nothing better to be here in Kansas and have all the resources that I have, and to still continue to hopefully impact lives and give young student athletes the opportunity that I was given.
What was that experience like, obviously leaving Wichita to take over to the Newman job, where you didn't know the players that because you didn't play with them. So how is that a little bit different than saying obviously becoming the next head coach for Wichita?
Yeah, it was I would say it was definitely easier than transitioning into that coaching role at Wichita State just because even though I was young and not that very much older than my players, they didn't know me as anybody but a coach. Whereas at Wichita State, they knew me as their teammate and friend and all of that. So there wasn't as big of an adjustment there where I got to come in and put my stamp on the program and lay my foundation and set the standard of what I was going to be about in my program from the very beginning. And they didn't know me as anybody other than their coach. So that part of it was nice and was kind of an easy transition to where I could come in on day one and establish myself and they took on my philosophy and embraced it and welcomed me and it's been great ever since.
What does a day in the life look like as a head coach, both coaching the men's side and the women's side of golf?
Yeah, some days it's there's not enough hours in the day to get everything done, that's for sure. But I go into the office every day and the daily life is, I'm on recruiting calls almost every day with either guys recruits or girls recruits and I also, you have to book hotels, you have to book rental vans, you have to pay entry fees and there's a lot of things that go into the behind the scenes of coaching and then our programs are it's still golf but they're two completely separate programs. So if you're doing hotels for one team you have double the work on the other side for the other team. So it's just kind of double the stuff that you feel good when you get one of them done and then you realize that you have to do it all over again for the other team. But I do have an assistant coach and he's really good at we kind of have to divide and conquer with practices and tournaments and stuff because our practices are at the same time some days and tournaments we might be in different states at the same time, so we have to communicate a lot by phone and we'll both be having a team at a tournament at the same time. But my afternoons are consumed with practice. Today for example I'll be out at the golf course from probably about 12:45 until dark just because our men's team's playing a qualifying round and then halfway through that I'll leave and go meet the girls and let them practice with them and then I'll go back to the guys and finish with their qualifying round. So it's a lot of time on the golf course, but luckily I like being out there and so it makes for some long days sometimes, but it's also fun to kind of split my time between both programs because it's very different on how I can coach them both.
What is that like, obviously, as you just got done saying, when, let's say, the men's team is like in a few states over and then the women's team is maybe at the home facility?
Yeah, it's really hard just because I want to, I'm one of those people where if I'm going to say yes to something, I'm going to be 100% all in. And I want to be all in with both teams, but there's just physically no way that I can split myself in half and be two places at once, which is the hard thing. So my assistant has to take one team and I have to take another. And usually we just split it up where he takes the guys and I take the girls just because it makes the most sense to do that. So, but it is hard because I want to be there with the guys and I want to be there to help coach and develop them. And, but at the same time, it is what it is and we do the best that we very can. And I go to as many tournaments for the guys and girls as I can as well. And, so we spread ourselves thin a little bit, but we do the best that we can. And our players are very good about being understanding, knowing that we are managing both teams.
Of course, on match day, what does a typical match look like for you as a head coach?
Yeah, I mean, obviously getting the guys or girls, whoever I'm with, to the golf course to start their warm up, and then I kind of just float around during the warm up and make sure that everything's ready to go on the cart for the day, and making sure that snacks and water and everything are ready to go, and then I just float around and see what they need in the warm up. Some of them are kind of wanting some tweaks on things before they tee off. And then once they tee off, it's literally just a grind because all five of them are playing or not in the same place at once. And there's only one of me and five of them. So I'm running around and trying to get to as many people and places as I can to, help them be the most successful and offer my advice as much as possible. But then when it's done, we're able to kind of practice a little bit and kind of reflect on the round ahead and try and hopefully rest and recover and get ready for the next day.
Who are some of the teams that you face each week in your conference?
Yeah, teams we see a lot, obviously Rogers State, Central Oklahoma, Northeastern State, Central Missouri, Fort Hays, Lincoln. Those are all schools in our conference that we see a lot. Missouri Western, Missouri Southern, teams like that. And then we see some teams outside of our conference as well, like Southwestern Oklahoma State and Harding and different teams like that are kind of in our region, but not necessarily in our conference. So, and a lot of those teams that I mentioned, are nationally ranked. Central Missouri, Rogers State, those are two, of the quote unquote powerhouses in our conference on the women's side. That they compete at the national level every year. So we get to compete against the best of the best, which has allowed us to kind of raise our standard a little bit and hopefully continue to climb to where we're competing more regularly with them.
What is that like, obviously getting to compete against Rogers State versus obviously the Missouri teams?
Yeah, it's great. Like I said, they're awesome golfers and they have a really great program. They're really well coached, and we get the opportunity to play with them and against them, and it allows us to kind of stay. I tell my girls all the time, we're just as good as them, or the guys to some of those teams. Like, we're just as good as them. This is what they're doing better than we're doing right now, and this is how we can fix it. And we can kind of learn from them, whether we're better or worse than them. We can learn from them on how to continue to grow, to get up to compete a little bit more. But the opportunity to compete against some of those schools is awesome because they're, like I said, they're very nationally, noticed, and they compete at a really high level. So it allows us to step our game up a little bit too.
Of course, how is that like, obviously traveling to those teams like Rogers State and playing them on their home court and golf course versus obviously having teams come to your golf course and play on your golf course?
Yeah, it's fun. Obviously, it's nice to play at home, but the travel piece of it's really fun, and we usually get to play at those several different courses each year, so we kind of remember them and are excited to get to go back. Rogers State especially does a really, really great job of hosting tournaments. It's a well-oiled machine. They do a really good job of, they have great hospitality and great communication and all that kind of stuff to run a really good tournament. And the golf courses that we get to play at different locations is really good. So we love getting to play new courses. We don't ever get bored with the same one. So it's kind of fun to see different ones.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to build for the program?
Yeah, when I first got here, I only had 3 girls. I was just the women's coach my very first year. And then in my second year, they promoted me to my current title, which is what I am now. But we're looking for, obviously the numbers on the scoreboard matter at the end of the day, but we're looking at really good character kids that want to come in and get better and work hard and that are open to coaching to getting to that point. And that's what we look for in the recruiting process. I really put a lot of emphasis on that relationship that I create with the player as I'm talking to them in the recruiting process. And I just have some really good first-class kids in my program right now that represent us in such a positive way. And to the point where when I have recruits come, I send my kids out to give the campus tour and I sit in my office while they do it because they're just so good at it. And they represent us and myself and our program in such a great way. So obviously the golf matters, and we look at all of it. But if we can get good character kids in here that want to get better and want to push each other and hold each other accountable, I think the scores will continue to improve at the end of the day. And that's kind of what we've started here, and we're continuing to see the benefits of that.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to come to Newman?
Yeah, it's different for everybody. Sometimes in the recruiting process, they're talking to 20, 30 schools, and they really have to weigh their options and see what they want to do and what fit they find that's for them. And then we have some that, just talk to 4 or 5 schools and they kind of have a short list. And, it's kind of they're trying to sell themselves to me and I'm trying to sell us to them. And it kind of comes down to, you build such a great relationship with kids and you recruit them so hard. And then, it's just, a feeling like I can't even explain when you get the phone call that they want to come play for you. And it's it's a gut wrenching feeling when you get the call that they're going to go to another school, because you work so hard for that relationship and for that connection to find the kids that would fit your program. So you kind of feel both sides of the emotion on that. But it's a really cool process. I really enjoy getting to meet a bunch of people and being able to help kids find the right fit for them to hopefully be successful playing college golf.
As a head coach, what are some of the things that you look at in those prospective student athletes when going to their prospective high schools or even tournaments?
Yeah, this probably sounds weird, but when I go watch them play, I would honestly rather see them play bad than play good. And the reason for that is just I want to see when they're not playing very well, I want to see how they handle adversity and how they overcome that. And are they getting really upset and are their emotions taking over? Or are they able to fight through that and still put a number on the scoreboard for their team and for themselves? So I want to see that and how we fight through things, because anybody's going to be happy and anybody's going to have a good attitude and a good frame of mind when they're playing well. So I want to see them play not so well and see how they handle it. Like I said, that probably sounds weird, but I think a lot of coaches would probably say the same thing is I want to know how you're going to handle things when things aren't going so well and I'm not around, So I look for that and how they carry themselves, how they handle themselves. I put a lot of weight into, talking to their high school coaches or swing coaches and seeing, how hard they like to work, what kind of teammate they are, because it is such an individual sport. But at the end of the day, you're coming together and that individual score adds up to our team score, which can lead to team success. So it's kind of an odd sport where we kind of have to, you're individually competing against each other to go to tournaments. Then when we get to tournaments, you're individually competing as a team with each other for a common goal.
While on the official visit, what is it like obviously seeing them fall in love with your campus and your facility?
Yeah, it's awesome. As I've been here, there's been certain things that you kind of pick out that you really push and you really kind of point out to them as really big, selling pieces, if you will. We have a really cool indoor facility on campus that is we have our own little like team room hangout area with TV and couches and stuff. And, the golf team's the only people that can use that facility on campus. So that's something that we really, really push in the recruiting process, because we're the only people that have a facility like that. I don't know of a lot of other even schools that we compete against that have something like that on their campus. It's just for their golf teams. So I really sell that. And there's different pieces of Newman that I sell about our program and stuff as well. And I really get my players involved on the visits as well, because it's important that they have a good relationship with me, but it's even more important that they feel like they can connect and fit in with who could be their future teammates. So those are really big things on visits. And then I just kind of like to tailor it to what they want it to be and what they want to see. And to hear at the end of the visit that everything they saw is exactly what they're looking for, there's no better feeling.
As a head coach, what's it like obviously seeing them get to put on that Newman golf polo for the first time as a freshman?
It's really cool, especially because, they've worked really hard to earn that opportunity. And, that's what I tell them if they're nervous or worked up or whatever. I just remind them that you're meant to be here. You wouldn't be here if you hadn't earned the opportunity to get to put that polo on. And so I just remind them that it is a process, and they need to be patient with themselves and give themselves a little grace, as college golf is a little different than the previous kind of golf that they were playing. So, but to have no regrets and to not take the opportunity lightly, that not a lot of people out there get to put on that Newman polo, and you do. So embrace that opportunity and don't make it any bigger than it needs to be.
What is that like obviously seeing your seniors get to put it on for the last time and then go on to play professionally golf?
Yeah, it's kind of a bittersweet thing, because as a coach, when they come into your program, you want to see them succeed on and off the golf course. So and the thing for me really is not necessarily the professional golf, it's just seen them be successful in their careers after college. They come in and they're up until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the lobby of the hotel doing homework or taking a test before we play the next day. And for that to all pay off, it means just as much as all the hard work on the golf course does when you play well in tournaments. So it's really sad to see them walk off the course for the last time, because you spend 4 years with them, building a relationship, and they truly are my own kids. I care about them more than I can even describe. So for them to leave the program, I carry a lot of pride with me that, and I'm so proud of them when they leave, that they're out in the real world impacting lives and doing what they love to do.
What are some of your future plans for the Newman Jets golf program moving forward?
Yeah, just continuing to build what we have. It's, as a new coach, it was hard to kind of get established, and this is truly the first year where I feel like I have all of my own recruits on both teams. It takes a while to build to that. And I'm thankful that we're there and we're seeing the success and the benefits of that. We have some really good kids that are continuing to get better on the golf course. We're recruiting really hard, trying to continue to get more really good kids to add to what we already have. So I don't like to compare ourselves to other teams right now. I just want to compare ourselves to us. And are we getting better, and are we growing? And we are right now. So that's what I care about. That's what I want to keep reminding our kids of, is as long as we're getting, 1 or 2% better every day, then we're doing what we need to do to continue to be successful.
What advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to go into playing college golf?
Yeah, just to, don't lose sight of if you have a dream, anything can happen. I mean, I think I'm a prime example of, I was not very highly recruited out of high school, and I just needed somebody to take a chance on me, and then I was going to go make the most of it. And I was able to do that. I hold some records at Wichita State now and was able to have some success. And, coming out of high school, I never dreamed that was possible. But with some hard work and belief in yourself, and honestly being surrounded by people that believe in you when maybe you aren't believing in yourself, that's a huge thing as well. So just never give up. Never give up on what you want. And even if it's not working out at the time, you can still do what you have control over. And that's, going out and working hard and doing what you need to do to get the opportunity that you want.
What advice would you give those college golfers that are looking to play professionally, whether it's the PGA, the LPGA, or even internationally?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a ton of experience with, my players moving on to that level, but, if they do have that desire, I thought about continuing on playing for a while, and just decided that I really wanted to get into coaching and to coach young kids and things like that. But if you want to do it, dream big and chase after your dreams. It's a whole different life when you're trying to make it on tour. You're living out of a suitcase, you're living in hotel rooms and things like that. But it just takes a lot of work and a lot of discipline to put into it. And, if somebody has that dream and that wish, then, I would rather them, go in 100% than have regrets later on and wish that they did.
What advice would you give those college golfers that are looking to get into coaching on the college level?
Yeah, my biggest advice would be to, start building or start talking to your current coach about that, because that's what I was able to do. And that was huge for me. I felt a lot more prepared starting my college career than I would have if I, didn't talk to him. And he was really able to let me in on some things that had to do with coaching before I got into it myself, which was huge, because then I kind of had an idea when I had my own program, especially when that came sooner than expected. I was kind of able to know what to expect. So there's a lot of things as college coaches that we can do to provide, development and mentoring to those young aspiring college coaches. But we just have to know that they're interested in it, and we can kind of guide them along that path and give them the resources that they need to be successful when their playing career is over.
What advice would you give those future college coaches that are looking to get started in coaching and leading their own program?
Yeah, I didn't expect to be where I'm at right now, if I'm being completely honest. So, just, hard work can get you a lot of places. And, I worked really hard in school, and, I tried to be, a sponge, honestly. Like when I was playing, I tried to just absorb as much information and as much knowledge as my coaches were giving me as I possibly could. I learned a lot from my swing coach, from my dad, from my college coaches, from my professors when it came to school, and just how to lead. Because even when you can be a great college athlete and not be a great coach. You have to know how to lead and mentor and impact people, in order to be a good coach. And that's something that you get better at the more that you do it. And I'm fortunate enough to have some great leaders and mentors that I have to look up to that have kind of paved the way for me. So I'm extremely grateful for that. But you just kind of have to lean on people, and building your own program is really special because you can put your own stamp on it. You can put your own mark on it. Like that's something that is still so crazy to me. Is this is my program. These are my programs. Yes, I have players in it, and yes, I have an assistant, but I'm the head coach and I've made it what it is today. And that's something that's really cool that I kind of lose sight of, that I'm really honored to be able to hold this position and to lead these in the way that I do.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you out on social media, along with the Newman Jets golf program app?
Yeah, so I have, myself personally, I have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Off the top of my head, obviously my Facebook is just my name. My Instagram is just Taryn Torg, not my whole name. I have a long last name, so I have to abbreviate it sometimes. And then my Twitter is at Taryn40Torg. And then we have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram for both of our programs, men's and women's golf here at Newman. So go out and give them a follow. We try and post a lot of results from tournaments and birthdays and different behind the scenes stuff when we have team gatherings and things like that. And a lot of my players love to step in and help with that social media piece for the team. So I think we're going to start some takeovers as well, just so the public can kind of see what the daily life at a tournament is for a student athlete. So a lot of exciting things coming forward, but that's how you can reach us.
Thank you again, Coach Taryn Torgerson, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the Newman Jets head coach.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Taryn Torgerson, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.